You say a word, your dog tilts their head. It is statistically one of the most photographed moments in the history of the internet, but almost nobody knows what is actually happening inside that fuzzy little skull. And the answer is more interesting than you think. To understand the head tilt, you have to understand how a dog hears the world. Dogs have about 18 muscles controlling each ear. Humans have 6, and most of ours barely work. A dog can rotate each ear independently, raise it, lower it, and aim it at a sound source like a satellite dish. But there is a problem with having 2 ears on top of your head. When a sound comes from directly in front of you, both ears receive it at the same instant. Your brain cannot tell whether the sound came from your nose or your forehead. It cannot distinguish vertical from horizontal. To do that, the head has to move. So here is what is actually happening when a dog tilts their head. By rotating the skull a few degrees, the dog changes the angle between each ear and the sound source. One ear is now slightly closer. One ear is slightly farther. The difference is measured in microseconds. That tiny time gap, called the interaural time difference, is enough for the dog's auditory cortex to triangulate exactly where the sound came from. It is the same principle a barn owl uses to catch a mouse in pitch darkness. The owl's ears are asymmetrically placed on its skull, one higher, one lower, so it can pinpoint a rustle in the leaves to within a single degree. Dogs do not have asymmetric ears, so they cheat. They tilt the head to create the asymmetry on demand. Here is where it gets interesting. If the head tilt were purely about acoustics, you would expect every dog to do it equally often. They do not. A 2021 study by researchers at EOTV's Loránd University in Budapest found something remarkable. The dogs that tilted their heads the most when their owners spoke were the so-called gifted word learners. These are the rare dogs, mostly border collies and a few other breeds, that can learn the names of dozens or hundreds of individual toys. The study tracked their head tilts on camera. Gifted dogs tilted their heads in roughly 43% of trials when the owner said the name of a known toy. Typical dogs tilted in about 2% of trials. That is not a small difference. That is a behavioral signature. The researchers proposed a theory. The head tilt is not just about hearing, it is about processing. When a dog hears a meaningful word, the tilt may help them concentrate, retrieve the memory of what the word refers to, and align both the sound and the visual world simultaneously. It is a thinking gesture, the canine equivalent of a human stroking their chin or squinting at a puzzle. There is also a visual component. Dogs have a long nose that physically blocks the lower part of their visual field, especially when they are looking up at a human face. Tilting the head slightly to the side can clear the muzzle out of the line of sight to your mouth. And dogs read human mouths. They watch our lips, our eyebrows, the corners of our smiles, every micro movement. Now, layer one more thing on top. Humans cannot help themselves. When a dog tilts its head, we react, we laugh, we coo-oh, we pull out our phones, we say good boy in a high-pitched voice, we reach for a treat. Every one of those reactions is a positive reinforcement. The dog learns, often without anyone noticing, that the head tilt produces good outcomes from humans. So the behavior that probably started as pure acoustic triangulation has been amplified by 20,000 years of human reinforcement. We selected for it without realizing it. Dogs that tilted their heads got more food, more attention, more affection. Wolves, by contrast, rarely tilt their heads at humans. They do it occasionally toward other wolves, but the dramatic full tilt at a human voice is a domesticated trait. So when your dog tilts their head, several things are happening at once. They are localizing the sound vertically as well as horizontally. They may be searching their memory for a meaningful word they have learned. They are improving their visual line of sight to your face, and they are deploying a gesture that somewhere in their lineage was rewarded so consistently it became part of how dogs talk to humans. One important note for dog owners: if your dog suddenly starts tilting their head constantly, especially in only one direction, and especially if they seem unsteady on their feet, that is a different thing. That can be a symptom of vestibular disease, an ear infection, or an older dog's a stroke-like event. Persistent involuntary head tilt is a vet visit, not a cute moment. The head tilt is a perfect little window into what a dog actually is. Part wolf, part acoustic instrument, part student of human language, part performer who learned that a small movement could earn a piece of cheese. The next time your dog tilts their head when you say a word, they are not just being cute, they are thinking, they are listening, they are working out in their own way. What you mean? And that is something worth tilting your own head for.